Hello everyone, how are you all? I, Priyanka Singh, welcome you all in this very special lecture series offered by DVPG College to all its students. So before beginning, I would like to introduce this topic to you all. This lecture is for the students of MA Semester 4 and the name of this unit is the concept of human rights, the various efforts made by the United Nations to secure human rights, the debate between universalism and cultural relativism, and the concept of Asian values. To begin with, I would like to start with the concept of the human rights. What is the concept of human rights? या फिर अगर हम हिंदी में इसे कहें तो मानव अधिकार क्या है? मानव अधिकार वो सभी अधिकारों को अपने अंदर समाहित करता है जो कि एक व्यक्ति के व्यक्तित्व के विकास के लिए ज़रूरी है. The concept of human rights engulfs within itself all the rights which are necessary for the growth of any individual. In other words, it can be said that all those rights which are necessary or the core of every individual self encompasses the concept of human rights. तो ये concept of human rights इसका जो शुरुआत हुआ है it has started with the beginning of human civilization itself. जब से मानव सभ्यता की शुरुआत हुई है तभी से इस कंसेप्ट की भी शुरुआत हुई है. बट अगर हम लिटरल टर्म्स में अगर इसको हम देखें या फिर अगर हम दूसरे शब्दों में अगर हम इसे कहें कि कब से ये डिस्कोर्स में आया है तो ये बेसिकली सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर के बाद से आया है. लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है कि सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर के पहले तक कंसेप्ट ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स नहीं था. जैसा कि हमने इसके पहले बताया कि कंसेप्ट ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स तब से आ चुका है जब से ह्यूमन सिविलाइजेशन की शुरुआत हुई है. इनफैक्ट इसके लिए ये भी कह सकते हैं कि इट इज़ अ नेसेसरी प्री कंडीशन फॉर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ ह्यूमन बींग्स और द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ ऑल द इंडिविजुअल्स. और क्योंकि ये एक नेसेसरी प्री कंडीशन है इसीलिए जो डिस्कोर्स है ह्यूमन राइट्स का विद द passage of the time it has become one of the most dominant discourses because it determines the living condition of the whole lot of humanity. So it has with the course of the time it has become an integral part of the people's life. So human rights is the core of everything that we do or we try to do. The overall dimension of human rights is so much wider in its scope that the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Boutros Ghali, has once remarked that human rights has become the ultimate norm of all the politics. So the discourse of human rights from the literal perspective includes the right of all human beings, or it encompasses all the rights possessed by human beings simply because of the virtue of being human. In fact, Jack Donnelly, one of the main contributors of the concept of human rights, and he is professor in United States, the University of Denver. So he has expressed the one of the most used meaning of human rights, that human rights are literally the rights that one has simply because one is human. So if you are a human being, अगर आप एक जो है इंसान हैं तो वो सभी राइट्स जो कि आपको एक मानव के रूप में आपको जो मिलती हैं वो सभी जो है आपके मानव अधिकार में आते हैं. सो द आइडिया ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स इज एड ओल्ड एज ह्यूमन सिविलाइजेशन इटसेल्फ. आई हैव प्रीवियसली ऑल्सो रिमार्क्ड अबाउट दिस थिंग. बट जो इसका जो डिस्कोर्स जो शुरुआत हुई है ऑब्वियसली जो इसको हम यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट जो कि 1948 में हुआ आफ्टर द सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर, उसके बाद से ये हर एक कंट्री में इसको एडॉप्ट किया गया. बट सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर के पहले भी इसकी शुरुआत जो है वो हो चुकी थी. भले ही लिटरल मीनिंग्स में इसकी शुरुआत जो है वो पोस्ट सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर फिनोमिना हो, बट as a notion the human rights concept has been in fact emerged from the Enlightenment period, from the time of John Locke, who is also regarded as the father of liberalism. His idea of life, liberty and property, and the notions such as freedom of speech, natural rights, limited government are all the watchwords of human rights today. So apart from John Locke, Thomas Jefferson has also contributed a lot to the concept of human rights. His concept of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are all the important components of the concept of human rights. Other than John Locke or Thomas Jefferson, other scholars have also contributed in this concept. For example, Immanuel Kant, his concept of human dignity also encompasses the core elements of human rights. Although the bright line or the whole literal meaning of human rights is the result of post-Second World War phenomena, the post-Second World phenomena has led to the emergence of the concept of human rights as a natural discourse. The reason has been the massive crimes against humanity during the Second World War, or the crime against peace during the Second World War. The whole Holocaust that was made during the Second World War was one of the most postulating factor behind the emergence of the modern notion of human rights. So the all the atrocities committed during the war, the anarchy of the states compelled people to think about their protection against this kind of atrocities or the appalling situations, which further led to the establishment of United Nations. With the United Nations basically got established with the primary goal of bolstering international peace, security, and preventing the future conflict. So the modern notion of human rights came into being with the establishment of human rights, and in 1948 it got accepted in the form of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So if we talk about the core elements of human rights, the human rights encompasses all those rights which are possessed by human beings, and what by the virtue of being human being and only by human beings. So it must be possessed equally by all the human beings. In fact, United Nations also in its declaration declares that human rights are the rights inherited to all human beings, irrespective of their nationality, place of residence, sex, ethnicity, caste, class, religion, language, or any other status. We all are equally entitled to the human rights without any kind of discrimination. So human rights are possessed equally by human beings by the virtue of their humanity, but there has been certain exceptions with regard to the virtue of occupying this particular status, or because there are some exceptions. All individuals cannot claim all the time that this is their human rights, so it must not be curbed by the state. So the human rights has time and again faced various criticisms also. But when we talk about the Declaration of Human Rights or the year 1948, there has been various generations of human rights from the year 1948 to the present year 2020. There has been various generations of human rights, and various other discourses got associated with the human rights with the passage of the time. So if you talk about the generations of human rights, the concept of human rights basically get divided into three generations. If you say the starting point or the first generation of human rights is started with the civil and political rights. So the civil and political rights included all those rights such as freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, freedom from torture, freedom from non-interference on the part of the state. So these rights are called as classical rights because these are the rights which has been guaranteed to the individual against the state. So these rights has been guaranteed to the individuals so that the state cannot interfere or take away these rights from those individuals. But then again it was felt by the state, or we can say that other international institutions, that merely guaranteeing civil and political rights is not sufficient to ensure the dignity of all the individuals, or in the words of Immanuel Kant, when we say that, because Immanuel Kant has basically propounded the concept of human dignity. He has basically emphasized on the concept of human dignity. So the second generation of human rights came up with some more concept, and that is the economic, social and cultural rights, because the civil and political rights was not very much sufficient to secure human dignity to all its individuals. So the need was filled for economic, social and cultural rights also. So second, these are called as the second generation rights, and these rights are collective in nature because it talks about the social rights, it talks about the economic rights, it talks about the cultural rights. These rights cannot be secured by individual separated from each other, so they are collective in nature and they pertain to the whole well-being of the society. So it is not individualistic in nature, rather it is collective in nature. Then again in the late 1970s, the need was filled for the third generation of human rights. So the third generation of human rights was basically the solidarity rights, and they are recognized as the human rights against they are guaranteed to the human right for their development. So it is not guaranteed against the state, it is not guaranteed against any other individual, rather it is guaranteed to the individual to develop themselves. It includes the right to develop, the right to peace, the right to healthy environment and the right to intergenerational equity. So it talks about the equality, it talks about the duties, it talks about the development of individual self. It does not guarantee you rights against the state, but rather it gives you the space to develop yourself. So these are the various generations of human rights. But again, if we step back and talk about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, so I have already discussed that the modern notion of human rights has been stemmed from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in the year 1948 in order to protect the integrity and dignity of individual human beings, and stressing the human rights that they are universal and inalienable in nature, they are indivisible, they are interdependent and they are interrelated. They are universal in the sense that everybody is born with and possess some rights. So they link with the concept of the natural rights which have been talked about John Locke also. The Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that all individuals are born free and equal in dignity and rights, and everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in a Universal Declaration of Human Rights without any discrimination on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth or any other status. It says this: everyone has the right to life, liberty and security. Then Article 2 of the UDHR says that rights and freedom set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, religion, political or affiliations, national or social origin, property, birth or any other status. So these two articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights secure the fact that all individual beings possess the same rights because they all are born as human beings. So the international human rights discourse, with the passage of the time, the universality of the concept of human rights got challenged, got debated from the third world countries, from the developing as well as the underdeveloped countries. This is the other dimension of this whole lecture. So this first unit of this lecture, or the first part of this lecture, is about the concept of the human rights, that what all are human rights. In the next lecture we will talk about the various debates pertaining to the concept of the human rights, that what are the challenges posed by the other school of thoughts, because human rights is basically the concept given by the liberal school of thought. So what other school of thought think about the concept of human rights, and what are their idea of human rights? Is human rights universal in nature, or the concept of human rights is also related with the cultural relativism? So we will talk about all these challenges and the other debates pertaining to the concept of human rights in the next lecture. Thank you all.